Mike Pompeo got the release of 3 detained Americans. They are all on their way back to the United States right now, setting the stage for that presidential summit with Kim Jong-un. We have a lot to get to in the next, 5 or 6 minutes before we take you over to the Gina Haspel hearing when she begins to deliver her opening remarks. But we want to start on North Korea. President Trump announcing that the Secretary of State is in the air and on his way back from North Korea with the 3 wonderful gentlemen. Kim Dong-chul has been held in the country since 2015, while Tony Kim and Kim Hak-song were both arrested last year. Pompeo tweeting, just in the last couple of moments, I had productive meetings in Pyongyang with Chairman Kim Jong-un and made progress. He says he is delighted to bring home these 3 Americans. We want to go right now to NBC News correspondent Janice Mackey-Freyer, live in Beijing. Janice, this is a moment that many in the world had been waiting to see. It is now here. We know that overnight tonight around 2 a.m., President Trump will greet those detainees on the tarmac of Andrews Air Force Base here in D.C.
Hallie, this was seen as a necessary step before there was any announcement made about the date and location of the summit between Kim Jong-un and President Trump. The release of the last 3 Americans known to be held in North Korea came after Secretary of State Mike Pompeo met for 90 minutes with Kim Jong-un about those summit details. There had been a lot of anticipation about this growing over the past couple of weeks, and it intensified with reports about a week ago that the men had been moved from labor camps to a hotel in Pyongyang. Now, North Korean officials have been very sensitive to posturing. They've been dissatisfied with the U.S. spin on diplomacy these days, suggesting the North Koreans are somehow bowing to pressure of sanctions. They say that it is Kim Jong-un himself who is driving this détente. And consider the diplomacy that we've had in the last 5 weeks alone. Kim has met twice with China's President Xi Jinping. There was the historic summit with South Korea's South Korea's Moon Jae-in, and now the prospect of this summit with President Trump. But the skeptics are being very cautious about this. They say that, yes, this was a tangible step, it was a necessary step, and it did remove an obstacle to those talks. But they say this was an easy concession, and it may be the only concession the U.S. may win in any negotiations with North Korea, because now, frankly, the hard part begins. Hallie?
That's right. Janice Mackey-Freyer live for us there in Beijing. I want to get over to Kristen Welker, who is on the White House North Lawn for us. And Kristen, we have learned in just the last couple of minutes new information from the pool reporters, quote unquote, that had traveled with Secretary of State Pompeo. You know that in the plane overseas coming back from Asia, comms are limited. But we're now finding out that, for example, Pompeo has confirmed the date and time of these talks with Kim Jong-un and Donald Trump. Now the conversation is, what will the agenda of those talks be? He's also saying that these men appear to be in good health. They were able to walk on the plane on their own, Kristen.
That's right. This is a significant moment for President Trump, for the Secretary of State. The fact that they appear to be in good health, also hugely important for this administration, particularly after the death of Otto Warmbier when he was released from North Korea. Hallie, we're hearing from the family of Tony Kim, one of the detainees, who says, we are very grateful for the release of our husband and father, Tony Kim, and the other 2 American detainees. We want to thank all of those who have worked toward and contributed to his return home. We also want to thank the president for engaging directly with North Korea. Mostly, we thank God for Tony's safe return. He was arrested after he had been teaching at the university in Pyongyang last year. And then, Hallie, we're also hearing from Sarah Huckabee Sanders in a statement she released just moments ago, saying President Trump appreciates leader Kim Jong-un's action to release these American citizens and views this as a positive gesture of goodwill. The 3 Americans appear to be in good condition and were all able to walk on the plane without assistance. All Americans look forward to welcoming them home and seeing them reunited with their loved ones. Again, that's going to happen at 2 a.m. tomorrow morning. So a lot of focus on that. But the broader context here, Hallie, the stakes couldn't be higher as President Trump prepares for what will be, if it does in fact take place, an historic summit with Kim Jong-un. Of course, the United States will be pressing for complete denuclearization from North Korea. Will they agree to that? It comes on the heels of President Trump pulling out of the Iran nuclear deal just yesterday, of course. And the question becomes, what message does that send to North Korea about the United States' willingness to stick to its commitments. The administration pushes back against any criticism, saying, look, they're going to get a stronger deal with North Korea, one that will lead to a safer United States and Korean Peninsula. But still, Hallie, the stakes couldn't be higher. We are told we're going to learn some of those details surrounding the date and place a little bit later on today. President Trump is going to have a cabinet meeting later this morning, so hopefully we'll get to ask him some of those questions.
And here's the thing, Kristen, he may want to talk about it at that cabinet meeting. This is something that he clearly feels good about. That is going to happen in just about 90 minutes or so. Over where you are there at the White House, Kristen Welker, thank you. The TikTok of how this went down is fascinating. Secretary of State Pompeo saying that he was on the ground for basically 13 hours. He had this 90-minute conversation with Kim Jong-un, between Mike Pompeo, Kim Jong-un, the two of them talking, returned back to where he was staying when a North Korean emissary came over and said, yes, we will be releasing these detainees, according to a senior U.S. official who was present for the exchange. You are looking now at what are live pictures from Yokota Air Force Base in Japan. You can see what we believe to be the plane that Mike Pompeo traveled back from Pyongyang on with those detainees. That emissary from North Korea came in and basically said, make sure these detainees, take care that these detainees don't do this again. This was what this person called a hard decision for the North Koreans. There's a lot of intrigue here, and there is a lot of diplomatic fallout that could happen. I want to bring in now Bruce Klingner, former Deputy Division Chief for Korea at the CIA, now at the Heritage Foundation. Bruce, let's talk. We've talked a little bit about the significance of this, but walk through where you see this going. What kind of an impact this might have on those talks we believe to be happening maybe next month between Donald Trump and Kim Jong-un?
Well, of course, it's a very welcome news that the American detainees have been released. We're always concerned when any Americans are held overseas, particularly in North Korea, given the treatment or the mistreatment of Otto Warmbier as well as some other Americans before him. So certainly the doctors are going to be examining them in interviews as to how they were treated. If they had been mistreated, that could cast a pall over the summit with President Trump, but so far it seems that they perhaps may have been treated well. So Kim Jong-un would have known it would have been a huge impediment had they not been released to the summit, either preventing the summit or certainly casting a dark shadow over the summit. So it removes an impediment. It's a positive initiative.
Bruce, I want to bring in now Bill Neely as we take a look on the other side of our screen at Yokota Air Base in Japan, where we believe the plane carrying those detainees has landed, at least momentarily. Bill Neely is live for us in the region. And Bill, talk us through some of the international, you're in London actually, but talk us through some of the international fallout here from, for example, the South Koreans now talking about this, celebrating the release of these detainees.
Yes, they say it's good news as far as the summit is concerned. Another confidence-building measure like we've seen really since Kim Jong-un's New Year's speech. South Korea is also calling for the release of 6 of its citizens who are being held in North Korean jails. And, of course, Bill, Japan has its own issues with...
I just tossed you, and I apologize. I got to interrupt you because back